Glory to God in the highest.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to our daily inspiration again. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully you'll learn a lot from what we've put together for you here. And if it's not too much of a hassle, please do share this on your social media to help spread the message. And this is going to be another short episode on spiritual warfare again here. I've put together a few clips from different exorcists, and hopefully what they're sharing here will be useful in some ways for all of you who are listening and watching. So let me kick this off with Father Daniel Rehill. A lot of you asked me to share something from these exorcists where they talk about Incubus before, so I thought this clip here explains the danger when one actually permits these things into our lives, for example.
Currently, I have a few cases I'm dealing with that's an incubus spirit. And this is one of the most repulsive because it actually sexually abuses people. But you need to invite it in to some degree. And this is where people get tripped up. So there was a woman who's a lawyer, and she self-professed Gnostic, didn't care if there was a God. She wasn't interested in it. And she had something moving around in her bedroom at night. So she finally said to the thing, if there's something present here, grab my hand. And something grabbed her hand. So for most people, that would be like a sign to say, this is a problem. There's something in my room that I can't identify, and who knows what else it's going to do. But she didn't do that. She developed a conversation with this thing, asking for like yes and no answers through moving things in the room and whatnot. And eventually it progressed to, she said it kissed her, and she didn't swat it off and say, no, I don't want that. And eventually now it's having sex with her, and then it's raping her. And now she doesn't like it. That's when I get called to come in. But, you know, it's always this case. And I had 3 at once of the same thing. It's always kind of strange. You're like, well, why is this suddenly and popping up everywhere? And one of them was a man. These spirits don't have gender, but they can impersonate gender. And he said to me, in all honesty, you know, so I woke up half awake and didn't really know what was happening, but I felt like my genitals were being stimulated, and he was enjoying it. So he had this thought, well, whatever this is, I like it. And there was the permission. So if you're not schooled in this, like, think about it. If you're half day sleeping in and out, you're not really paying attention. It's easy to be tricked into giving the thing permission. So that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm not sure why that happens, you know, to some degree. I also think that people that are curious are more at risk because they're more open to like just testing things and seeing what happens, or playing these games with, you know, whatnot, Ouija boards and things like that, because they don't believe it. And if you think this is all made up, of course, you're going to go into it thinking, how could I get hurt? It's not real, until they do get hurt. And then, you know, then you have to call somebody for help.
For the next clip, I'd like to share something from the former exorcist Father Fortea. This one is in a way quite interesting when during exorcisms, the evil spirit that possessed the inflicted person would call on other evil spirits to help.
In every exorcism, the spirit inside call other bad spirits to help him. And even if you are praying just for a person, many demonic forces may be there. But the priest call angels, saints to help him. Then every exorcism in some way is a fight between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. I understood that every exorcism weakens a little more the power of hell on earth. Every exorcism weakens a little more the power of hell on earth.
Generational sin is something that people often asked about in the comments as well, apart from the earlier topic on the incubus spirit covered by Father Rehill, which according to Father Martins here, something that causes no small controversy among Christian churches.
So I encounter people all the time and say, well, I don't give the devil authority to have any jurisdiction or issue over me, right? But you're viewing this the wrong way. If somebody knocks at your door and you may not have delegated any permission for the person on the other side to do you or your family members harm. But guess what? You open the door, there's somebody standing there with a knife. kills you, kills your family members, what permission you gave is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Spiritually, it's the same thing. You open the wrong door. You open the wrong door. And now you're subject to the consequences. Personal sin. Then generational sin, right? And this is one that causes no small controversy among Christian churches, in particular some Protestant churches, because they don't acknowledge it at all. But look, our entire faith is based upon generational sin. What is original sin if not generational sin? Well, the Pharaoh. So he puts a curse upon Moses, utters a curse, and what happens? Well, every firstborn of the land is struck dead that night during the first Passover. Right? Every firstborn. None of the firstborn sinned. Right? Pharaoh sinned. But the effect of the sin was visited upon them. Right? When David counted, when he took the census against the will of the Lord, right? Then he was given 3 options, right? Pick your punishment, A, B, or C, right? And the punishment he picked was for 3 days pestilence, right? So all of a sudden, all the food in the land is eaten by locusts. And David says, Lord, it's not them. The sin was not theirs. It was mine. Right? Why are you punishing them? So there is such a thing as generational sin.
And for the next clip of Father Carlos Martins here is also answering something that people often wonder about. For example, when we listen to one exorcist, he's saying these things about the demons. And then when another exorcist shares his experience, he's saying something else about these demons. So I think you'll find Father Martin's explanation here helpful.
We think of demons as species of things. Well, what kind of demon did you have? Did you have this kind of demon or that kind of demon? This demon, this is his nature. He acts in this manner. So you go into a different situation, he's going to act in that manner. No, that's not the case. Nowhere is that necessarily a part of the script. He can completely change, offer a completely different name, and exhibit a completely different personality. And anybody who says that's impossible, doesn't have a notion of what he is talking about. Nowhere in Revelation does it say they have to function according to a particular nature, a particular set of behaviors and characteristics.
And for the last clip that I'd like to share here with all of you will be from Father Fortea again.
Free will is a gift that nobody lost. Every time we do not want to sin, we do not sin. We sin when we want. We cannot say, oh, he was confused, his intelligence. If he was completely wrong and he did not see the evil of that action, he did not sin. If he was so weak that he cannot avoid the sin, he did not sin. Sin requires that you know that is a sin and you want to do. That's very important to state in a very clear way, because demons are around the free will. Sometimes when there are very, very bad habits, demons come near that person to increase the number of sins and the quality. But they just come to increase what is inside. If a priest in confessional command that demon to go out, okay, he will be out. It will be like a wall for a time. But if the sin is inside, the will do not want to avoid a sin, he will continue sin without the demon. Only if the will wants to avoid the sin, it will help not that demon to be at the side. But if you expel that demon, but the person that they sin again, the demon will return.
For the second part of this video, I'd like to share something from Father Fortea again. As there's no recording of him saying this, but instead in written form, an excerpt from his book Interview with an Exorcist, I'm going to read it out to all of you instead. And the question is, can demons unite and concentrate their efforts to influence society? And his answer was, the greatest power of the demons lies in tempting us to sin. Since they communicate among themselves, demons certainly work together and concentrate their efforts to influence human society. They do this by collectively devising strategies and by putting them into action in a specific place. While they desire to tempt everyone to sin, they know very well that certain individuals have the ability to influence society as a whole because of their wealth, fame, or power. The communications media are a particularly powerful influence on today's society. As such, the demons especially target. In politics, demons are never neutral. They always analyze the situation and focus their energies on those political officials and candidates who will wittingly or unwittingly favor their goals. Undoubtedly, in the German election of 1932, the demons understood perfectly that their goals would be better served by tempting the German people to vote for a rather unknown fringe candidate named Hitler. Does this mean that Hitler's rise to power can be attributed solely to demonic forces? No, human choice was involved, but demons were undoubtedly involved too. Similarly, the Church Fathers, in their writings about Christian persecution by the state, often point out that such persecution is rooted in the instigation of demons on rulers and the population as a whole. We must always remember that the devil is the father of lies, and he seeks to make evil appear good and good appear evil. At the heart of much evil is the rejection of human dignity. The demons want us to forget that we have been created in the image and likeness of God. There is the famous vision of Pope Leo XIII in which he saw the infernal spirits concentrated on Rome. This vision was the origin of the prayer to Saint Michael, which the Holy Father sent to the world's bishops in 1886 and asked the entire church to recite. The work of the angels and the prayers of Christians can impede the plans of darkness. This is why prayer and sacrifice are so important. They are a bulwark against the powers of hell in this world and a source of abundant blessings. Though we must do battle in this invisible struggle with spiritual powers, we should always remember that in the exercise of our free will, we are the authors of our own destiny. The demons can only influence us to the extent that we let them. In the end, we do what we choose and are ultimately responsible for these choices. Not even the concerted effort of millions of demons can force us to do something we really don't want to do. When tempted, prayer is our greatest weapon, a weapon as powerful as the greatest army or wealth. The demons know the power of prayer and fear it. Just before we get to the end of this video, I'd like to share a very interesting story about the day the Holy Door almost fell on Paul VI. And since he narrowly missed being crushed by falling rubble from the wall of the Holy Door in St. Peter's, the rite for opening the door has been simplified. It's December 24th, 1974. On this Christmas Eve, the Vatican television cameras are focused on the 202nd Roman Pontiff. What happened was, he prepares to publicly open the Holy Door in St. Peter's Basilica for the Great Jubilee of 1975, a solemn moment for the Catholic Church, which celebrates these jubilees every 25 years with great pomp and ceremony. As is customary, the Pope symbolically strikes the door, which on the right of the nave is open only during the jubilees with 3 hammer blows. Then the brick wall, which has sealed the door since the last jubilee, is cut away before the eyes of the assembly, before being lowered slowly by a winch in front of the pontiff, when rubble suddenly falls from the top of the wall, narrowly missing him. The black and white images documenting the incident show that the Bishop of Rome didn't move a fraction of an inch, clearly remaining stoic in the face of the collapse. But in the Vatican, the lesson had a lasting effect. Henceforth, popes will no longer wield hammers, and the brick wall containing the door's key box will be dismantled a few days before the start of the Jubilee to spare the Bishop of Rome any further masonry mishaps. Nowadays, at the inauguration of a Jubilee year, the Pope simply symbolically pushes open the door as Pope Francis will do at the opening of the Jubilee year 2025 to be held at the Vatican Basilica on December 24th. If holy doors are the symbol par excellence of the Jubilee year, St. Peter's Holy Door is even more so. It has marked the launch of the Jubilees since the year 1500 with Pope Alexander VI. In fact, symbolically, the Holy Door represents Jesus, who declares in the Gospel, "I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved." Crossing the Holy Door, for the millions of pilgrims expected in Rome next year, is a sign of the salvific passage that Christ opened through his incarnation, death, and resurrection. The door's current design was created in 1949 and engraved with 16 panels telling the story of humanity's redemption, from the first sin, the expulsion from the garden, to Jesus' death and resurrection, and concludes with an image of Christ as the door of salvation. Each of the 4 great Roman basilicas, St. Peter's, St. John, St. Mary Major, and St. Paul outside the walls houses a holy door. By passing through them at the end of their pilgrimage, the faithful receive an indulgence. Other holy doors may be opened around the world for local jubilees. The Basilica of Assisi has one, as does the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, or for extraordinary jubilees. For the 2015 to 2016 Jubilee of Mercy, Pope Francis chose to open the first holy door in Central African Republic, and for 2025, he plans to open one in a prison. Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for your continuous support, contribution, and prayers. If there's any suggestion or feedback, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below.